14th century China, the rising Ming dynasty clashing with the dwindling Mongol Empire. The Imperial Ming army tearing into and seizing the lands once in control of the mighty Mongol Empire. Village destroyed, thousands of men killed, children taken as captives. And today we are bringing you a story of one such young boy who was taken as captive by the Ming forces. Ma He was born in 1371. His village was destroyed and he was taken by the forces, castrated and given into the services of the young prince Zhu Di. As fate would decide, after a few years, Ma He helped Zhu Di ascend to the Ming throne by overthrowing his own nephew. The new emperor bestowed upon Ma He a new name, Zhong He. The new emperor proved to be one of the most ambitious in Chinese history. He wanted to have his influence all over the world. He ordered to build a fleet of more than 300 ships, out of which 62 were known as the treasure ships. These treasure ships were as big as modern day football fields. They were 450 feet long and 190 feet wide. They were aptly named as treasure ships as they contained invaluable goods like silk, gold, silver, porcelain, and other treasures to be gifted to the rulers of different lands. The treasure fleet consisted of more than 27,000 crew personnel, including doctors, physicians, translators, diplomats, carpenters, cooks, and soldiers, along with their weapons and horses. The fleet was no less than a floating city. The Emperor Zhu Di made Zhang He, who was now his most trusted confidant, the commander and the admiral of the treasure fleet. Imagine hundreds of ships fanning across the horizon, an ocean of red silk sea sails. This was the great fleet of the Ming dynasty, commanded by Zhang He. Zhang He made 7 famous voyages across the oceans with his treasure fleet, the first of which started in 1405. The treasure fleet went through the South Chinese Sea, through Sumatra, the Strait of Malacca, into the Bay of Bengal, round Ceylon, and rested in Calicut, India. Calicut was a thriving port of business at that time, and the people had never seen anything like the treasure fleet. On their way back in the Strait of Malacca, the treasure fleet encountered pirates. Zhang He laid an ambush on the pirates, captured the pirate king, brought him back to China, where he was publicly beheaded. In 1409, the third voyage of Zhang He helped the ruler of Ceylon, that is present-day Sri Lanka, regain his throne back. Fourth voyage started in 1413 with expanded horizons. This time, the fleet went beyond Calicut into the Persian Gulf. The Chinese soon arrived at the port of Hormuz, which is situated between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, where they were warmly welcomed by the local authorities. The crew were immersed in the riches of Persian and Arabic worlds, offering out their wealth in return for precious stones, pearls, ornate Persian carpets, and fine Arabic horses. It is here that Zhang He first came into contact with the cultures of sub-Saharan Africa, for Hormuz was a thriving port and brought in entrepreneurs from all across the Muslim world. 1417, Zhang He departed on his 5th voyage with the intentions to go further than he had ever gone before. Sailing beyond the Hormuz port, the Chinese docked at the port of Aden, which is present-day Yemen. There the Chinese acquired more material wealth from the Arab world, alongside exotic animals such as ostriches and zebras, as well as more lions and giraffe. From there, the fleet made its way into Mogadishu and the rest of the African continent. And this was the farthest that the fleet would travel. In 1424, following the end of the 6th voyage of Zhang He, the Ming Emperor Zhu Di died while on a campaign against the Mongols. By the end of his voyages, Zhang He had traveled more than 50,000 kilometers, going across from China to India, from the Arabian Sea to the east coast of Africa. He had traveled more than anyone at that time. 10 years after his sixth journey, Zhang He, the 60-year-old admiral, was once again called for one final voyage. On this journey, the great admiral met his end, passing away in Calicut in 1433 and was buried in the sea. Many historians believe that this was China's chance to colonize the world as British did years later. But their intentions were never so. They were only there for business and exchange of treasure. Today, Zhang He may not be as famous as Christopher Columbus, but he remains a legend in the Chinese history and also a cult figure to the places he had visited. With this, we end this episode of The Greatest Explorers, and I hope you liked it. See you next time.